Hello and welcome back. I'm well aware that it's been a while since the last video, but don't fret because we have some news and we need to debrief it, so let's get into that. We're going to be talking about China's COVID-19 cases, particularly the rise in COVID-19 cases recently. So without further ado, let's get into the who, what, when, where, and why. So the who, we're going to be talking about Chinese citizens. They're the most directly impacted. We're also going to be talking about American companies, especially in the tech sector, like Apple and Intel, and you'll see why in a couple of minutes. The when, the surge of COVID-19 cases occurred approximately a month ago on April 18th. The where, there's 4 main places where this has impacts, and that is Beijing, Shanghai, Taiwan, and the United States. The why, if you don't know, in China, they put into practice a zero COVID policy, which basically means they shut down all export, all production, and all manufacturing in a particular area as soon as COVID-19 cases reach a certain number. So there's no quarantining, there's no coming back after COVID has gone away in your body. It's just complete shutdown. And this is to ensure that China has zero COVID-19 cases. But what we don't know is that this has a lot of implications on the global supply chain, and it impacts us as consumers directly as well. So that's the who, what, when, where, and why. And now we're going to be talking about the implications of this surge in cases. So there's 2 major ways this impacts us. First is an ethical one. We're going to be talking about the closed loop management policy. And secondly is electronic company stocks and production. So closed loop management is a management strategy that is now used more commonly because of COVID-19, where even if a group of workers has COVID or any infection, if they stay within the factory or the production plant and continue to work without any movement in and out, then the production continues to occur and therefore the company continues to make a profit. So a lot of companies are putting this into practice, but the question comes up, is this something that is ethical to do? You're essentially keeping people locked in a particular facility for extended periods of time, and oftentimes these people have not signed in their contract that they're willing to do this, but are forced, especially in nations where human rights are not exactly followed, like China. So that's the biggest concern, which is closed loop management. And the debate is actually pretty interesting in terms of whether this is ethical or not. And obviously it's a little too early to completely determine the effects of what that kind of management system is doing, but it would be interesting to see how that plays out. The biggest implication that the rise in COVID-19 cases has is on electric company stocks and production. So Apple's MacBook laptop manufacturer is a Taiwanese company by the name of Pegatron Corporation. They're the ones that create and produce the actual laptops. They stopped production in Shanghai, and this was in regards to China's COVID-0 policy. So they've completely stopped production there. And obviously, one of the biggest plants, if it's being shut down, that's going to have long-term and long-range effects on the timing that certain products reach the United States, and therefore the ability for United States citizens to buy products not only here, but in every Apple store all over the world. The iPhone manufacturer, because Apple has multiple manufacturers for various products, is a group called Foxconn. That's the corporation name. They also halted production in Shanghai, and that's also caused problems down the supply chain, especially when it comes to exports of that particular good. Because of this halting of products and production, the shares for Apple stock fell 3% the next day after the company issued this news update to the stockholders and to the media. It dropped to $165.29 per share, which is very low for Apple the day after they announced. And not only does this harm the United States and US customers, it also harms Chinese Apple buyers, because Chinese Apple buyers account for about 19% of all of Apple sales. So when you don't have those goods coming into a market that's very active, very volatile, you see that the company itself is going to lose profit. And moreover, people aren't going to be able to buy the products that they need like the Apple MacBook and iPhone, which a lot of Chinese citizens do rely on. Apple made an announcement stating, and I'll read it here, they said before they announced the halting of production in those two manufacturing production plants, they said that they're going to have 25 million to 30 million units of the iPhone SE, and those would be shipped out around the world this year. After the production stopped at those two major plants, they put out a statement saying there would be between 15 million and 20 million iPhone SEs that would be shipped around the world this year. So it has a very, very grand scale of how much product is actually going to be exported. And Intel is also facing a similar situation with semiconductors, which are utilized in any computer and in any electronic device. The reason why China is involved in all of this is because a lot of electronic products and semiconductors are exported from China and Taiwan, and not many other countries have massive manufacturing and production capabilities to export these kinds of things. So we see that not only do consumers have limited selection to choose from Apple and Intel products, share prices also went down. So you can see how, as an investor, as a consumer, as a student, as an adult, whatever, you're impacted by this if you are a loyal customer, if you hold stock, if you are looking to purchase a product. So those are the reasons why the Chinese lockdown and China's COVID-0 policy has long-range effects on everyone. So, thank you.